Good afternoon. Welcome to the second session for the 2011 SA webinar series. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are going to be talking all things Flinders Ranges and Outback, and we are lucky enough to be joined by Peter Cahalan, who is the Regional Manager for the Flinders Ranges and Outback area, and also Matthew Guy, our Marketing Executive in Adelaide. Just a reminder to everyone throughout today's session, which will last about half an hour, to type your questions in the chat box as we move through the presentation, and we'll address these questions at the end. Also, I know a few of you have been asking me about the recordings of the last webinar. We are working on putting these on YouTube, and this should be completed by the end of this week. And in addition to that, what we're going to actually do is send out a copy of the PowerPoint presentations. Because they're large files, what we'd ask you to do is download it from a usendit.com link that we'll forward to all of you later in the week. So you will be able to download the presentation on the Eyre Peninsula and also the presentation today on the Flinders Ranges and Outback. So with that being said, I'm now going to introduce Peter Cahalan to take the microphone. Thanks, Peter.
Hi everyone, and welcome amongst others to the Canadians who are there, because I lived there for 4 years in Hamilton, Ontario, so welcome. The Flinders Ranges and Outback is an absolutely huge region, with Adelaide as the gateway to it, and Adelaide, as it happens, is the nearest Australian capital to the Outback, and in fact the Flinders Ranges were until the 1960s regarded as the Outback region. They got overtaken with as travel kind of kicked in a little further out, but it's still the accessible Outback, that part of the zone. So it's only a 3-hour drive to Port Augusta, and if you look at the map there and you are not clear in South Australia, on the you've got Adelaide, and then going further north, Clare, just there, which is normally a place that people go through on many of the routes you are packaged in. Up the top of the Gulf is Port Augusta, which is the real gateway to the Outback. Wilpena Pound is the heart of the whole Flinders Ranges zone, and at the top of the Flinders Ranges, Arkaroola, Arkaroola, we will see later on. That zone there over the southeast corner of the map is the Flinders Ranges section, and all the rest is the Outback, and combined it's the size of France and Germany, though thank God much of it you don't have to visit, so it's actually more compact than you might think, though the driving can be long. Okay, there is the tug of the heart place for South Australians, Wilpena Pound, 18 kilometres by 7, natural basin, and for me and other exiles when we were over in Canada and Britain in the 70s, this is what we remembered, and it truly is quite magic to visit that. The next slide is really just one of my favourites, what I call the Abbey Road slide of emus crossing the road, yellowfoot rock wallabies on the left there, which you can see in places like Bratchley Gorge, and this is all Flinders Ranges, and around Wilpena Pound Resort, tons of kangaroos, great park-like area. To get to the Flinders Ranges, really your customers can go with a range of tour operators. Banksia Ventures is quite a large one. They run numerous versions of itineraries, and I'll show you one or two later. Bookerby Tours, an Aboriginal tour operator. Heading Bush, another local one. And Self-Drive is the big market, but if you're packaging people, they're the kind of people to go with. And if you want to know the routes to follow, they've really pioneered them. Charter flights, Chinta Tours are based on Eyre Peninsula, Eyre South and Ross Eyre in Adelaide, and they're both all very flexible in doing packaging for your guests to get you around to wherever you want them to go. In terms of one of my favourite sort of experiences in the Flinders Ranges, at Quorn, just outside Port Augusta, is Picture Richie Camel Tours, and they really do a great job of packaging in. They will offer you gold, silver and bronze packages for transport to get you up there to experience their full day or half day tours, their evening tours, and they also do a very good job with a Port Augusta-based cruise operator, Ocean to Outback, cruise on the Gulf and camel tours, so you get, and bush food. I think this one here is one to have a good look at. If your people are really time poor, try the one-day option. Leaves Adelaide about, I think it's 6:30, 6:45, and you'll be back in Adelaide by 7 o'clock. In that time, you've flown to Port Augusta. Aaron Morgan runs an excellent water cruise up to the very top of the Gulf where it narrows down to virtually nothing. You'll have kangaroos sticking out of mangroves looking at you from 15 metres away, dolphins, occasionally fur seals even, and the odd whale last year further south. It's a pretty amazing ecosystem, and he'll drive you from there to Wilpena Pound, and then you do a flight over the Pound, drive back through the Great Landscape, which, as I said, is South Australians' favourite area, and you're back in Adelaide in a day. I think that's a really terrific way to pack in the Outback if that's the only chance your customers are going to get in Australia to see the Outback. This guy, Hayden Bromley, is fantastic. He's really reliable and skilled Aboriginal tour operator. He's actually Adnyamatna, that is from the people of the rocks from the Flinders Ranges, and he'll do various options, including this 3-day one, which gets you to Port Augusta. They often belt you up to Port Augusta the fast way. Stop at Wadlata Outback Centre, which is really, I regard, being an ex-museum director myself, as one of the best interpretive centres in Australia. No PR intended. It really is good. Gives you great orientation to the Outback and the Flinders. Then you're walking with him through the gorges of the Flinders, which are one of their great assets. It's not just it's not a Rockies. It's a low range of low range basically, but the gorges are what take you right into the heart of it. It's quite an intimate experience of the range you'll get with people like this guy, and Hayden will take you through bushwalks and then back to Adelaide. Okay, next one, thanks, Matt. I've got Matt Guy with me, by the way, an esteemed colleague in the international section, doing as my attractive assistant.
Yes, hello guys. I'm here pressing the button.
The 4-day option. So Hayden's just one version of a 3-day option. Here's an option for 4 days. Banksia Adventures will take you from Adelaide to Wilpena Pound by Port Augusta. Wilpena to Arkaroola at the very top. That's Arkaroola you're looking at there on the Ridgetop tour, which is one of the great tours, Outback tours. 5 hours, quite bumpy, but superb interpretation by the guide staff there. And then back to Parachuna, the Prairie Hotel. You'll see that in a minute. And then back by a very different landscape. What you're looking at there is the sort of Southern Flinders Clare Valley landscape, and you can see the difference. All one long range and yet very different in its styles. Thanks, Matt. At the heart of the Wilpena Pound area is the resort, refurbished. And my favourite point about that slide on the top right is that at night you'll see anywhere between 2 and 25 small kangaroos grazing there. They're very used to humans, and the other day when I was up there, 2 of them came bounding around a corner of a motel unit in the background there, chasing each other quite cheerfully. Probably slightly dangerously, but for the guests, but it was an amazing experience, and so guests will get that. And Hayden Bromley works with them on the Aboriginal tours out of their half-day tours, the morning and afternoon, quite different ones, well recommended. Scenic flights. I think what's come home to me in the last few years working this job is that we've probably undersold the scenic flight over Wilpena Pound. The difference between Wilpena, the Flinders Ranges, and say the Kimberleys and some of the other great Australian landscapes, the Red Centre, is that it's very compact. You fly up, and half an hour when you've flown down again, you've seen not only the Pound, but incredibly complex, twisted, tortured landscape. Quite brilliant, and those flights go for about $140 Australian. I would say to all your guests, if you do one thing in Australia, and certainly one thing on this trip, do the scenic flight. And you'll see here that we're adding to that with, oh, sorry, getting ahead of myself.